I want to ask you this. Give me the differences and the similarities between the wrestling locker room and the football locker room.
So the personality type is completely different.
Explain that.
The thing with football, and something that it took me a long time to get used to, and not to sound sour grapes or anything, but football is 100% a meritocracy. It's if you are the best at a position, you will play that position. It doesn't matter, who you know. If you're on the team, if you're the best person for a job, you're the one that does it. Wrestling.
Sports is a meritocracy, pretty much by definition, right? Yeah.
In sports where it's actually competitive, that's how it works. So it was.
Is he really low to you guys right now?
Yeah, your volume went down real quick.
It went. Yeah, I don't know.
I moved my mic away. I thought I was peaking. Okay.
Yeah.
With wrestling, it took me a long time to get used to because I started training. I thought I was doing well, and opportunities didn't necessarily come to me. They'd go to somebody else, and I was like, "Oh, why? I feel like I'm doing better than such and such, or I think I'm on pace with such and such. Why am I not getting all of the same opportunities that person's getting?" And it's a completely different world in that factor.
Well, I'll tell you what the big difference is, Masay, and as you've learned, it's who you know. It's who's kind of like your godfather. Everybody has people that they protect, whether it's Bruce Pritchard or Vince or Hunter or Road Dogg or Shawn Michaels or whoever, and everybody in position of power. And everybody else is just, unless you get hot by yourself organically or something happens, you're not somebody that's going to be chosen for, there's a lot of people that get chance after chance after chance. And there's some people that only get one or two chances and that's it. It isn't the best a lot of times.
Our chance was the biggest push we ever got was the 2 weeks that Vince was pushing the model thing. Mm-hmm. And
right.
We say we must be the most unlucky people in the world because we had our big push for 2 weeks where they were practicing Money in the Bank and they would clear the bowl. They would clear the bowl for our modeling segments. And Vince would come down, and Vince does not come out very often anymore. Vince would come out and he's like, all right, make sure you turn like this and make sure you do this. He was very hands-on with us. 2 weeks later, we get a text. I'm retiring. Completely unheard of luck.
Let me ask you a question because I'm always bizarre at this because me and Conan, I don't know if you listen. I don't know if you guys listen to our show, right? But we were very complimentary of you guys because they gave you a gimmick. You embrace the gimmick 100% and engross yourself in the gimmick, which I've always thought, like in my history, the history of professional wrestling, people that do that get rewarded.
Right.
What went haywire there with you guys? Because I was like, why is this content on YouTube? You're doing entertaining content on YouTube and go, why is this stuff not on the show? This is entertaining stuff. Like who there was the wet blanket on what you guys were doing? Because I loved your gimmick. I was like, wow, I'd watch you guys on TV because the thing is like, your typical internet goofy, smart mark wrestling community probably like, oh, this is stupid. But I'm like watching like, bro, this is good character acting. They're in the ring. They're embracing the gimmick, like you're doing the tags with your pointing your finger, like you're just doing things that like okay, what can we do to sell this gimmick, right? And you're doing it very well. And I was like what went haywire there? Like, because I thought you guys should have been pushed. So
I think we're just kind of a byproduct of being the last Vince project right before he went. It's just that's the luck.
So
of
Vince
the draw.
Vince is 100%. You're like, but he didn't like LA Knight, right?
And so with
What's
LA
the story?
Knight,
He didn't like Max. He didn't like Max Dupree.
He didn't like Max Dupree. What?
So the thing about LA Knight is he had a dark match. And obviously LA Knight, charismatic body guy, jacked, looks great. So Vince looks at the monitor and he goes, wow, who's that guy? And Johnny Ace comes by and goes, oh, that's LA Knight, he's in developmental. And Vince is like, let's call him up. And then Johnny goes, well, he's like 40. And Vince, they were on a huge age kick at the time. Like they wanted young people. That's when NXT 2.0 rebranded. So
that's
Vince
when they were all 20 years old, and
let me just say one thing, bro. Let me just say one thing, because I had that same issue with Layfield a long time ago. I went in there and he asked me my age, and I'm like, "Are you gonna flash my age up on the screen? You don't flash your brother's age up there, and his brother's older than me."
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but go ahead.
Totally ridiculous because obviously it's not about how old you are, it's about how old you feel. And LA's healthy, he can go, awesome performer. But Vince and Johnny's solution to that problem was, well, let's make him a manager. Let's make this jacked, charismatic guy a manager. So they come up with the Max Dupree character, and this was for the Maximum Male model gimmick that Vince had in the tank for like a year. What the writers told us was that Vince has been going on and on in the writers' room. We need to get some male models on the show. I want to see some catwalking.
Yeah.
And they've been saying, we want models. And finally, lucky or unlucky, depending on how you look at it, we were two guys who were doing nothing at the time, and Vince pulls us into his office and says, well, you're a couple of good-looking guys.
We're like, thank you, Vince. Thank you.
I'm blushing. I'm like, oh, Vince. And he says...
Plus, let me just say one thing.
Sure.
It doesn't matter, bro, especially you probably didn't have a lot of interaction with him. When you're in front of Vince, you're like in awe. That's number one. Yeah.
That's what's funny is we actually did have a lot of interaction with him.
You did?
Partially
That's
because
cool.
he was so hands-on with that project, and partially just I don't know. He always just seemed easier for me to access. I've had plenty of conversations with him, and I was also.
Let's get the cat out of the bag. Why didn't Hunter like this?
I think that Hunter had a similar thing going on that was his creation with Pretty Deadly, and that's no heat on those guys. We love those guys, and honestly, we kind of took their thing when we were the Maximum Male model, so I don't blame them at all.
I never, until you brought that up, I'd never even thought of that. I was like, well, wow, the Pretty Deadly is kind of like they took the Maximum Male model spot because they're doing kind of like an offshoot of the same gimmick.
But you could have had one. You could have Pretty Deadly on one show and these guys on another show. We
wanted to have a match where when we were told, hey, we're killing off the gimmick, we're going to rebrand you guys, we said, listen, what are we leaving money on the table for? Why are we not doing a Pretty Deadly match where the loser has to never model again? Or why don't we work Pretty Deadly?
That's typical sports entertainment at WWE. They love that, you would think, right?
Why don't we work Pretty Deadly where they take a hammer and smash my face, break my nose, so that I can never model again because I'm so ugly? There were so many avenues we could have gone down, but just the way we pitched
we pitched a reverse bra and panties match where instead of stripping off each other's clothes, we'd have to put on like a really ugly outfit and take pictures in it so that we could never be seen in the fashion industry again.
I mean, we had pictures every single week. Every single week. We wanted to do a whole storyline with Otis where he joined the Maximum Male models and we gassed him up and Maxine was flirting with him. Just so when he finally did his big fashion show, he came down the walkway and we dumped like on him or just embarrass him like that movie Carrie, and we're laughing at him, and then him and Chad Gable can feud with us. I mean, we had so many ideas.
Bro, plus two. So, like, if you look at like the way modeling is presented today, it's almost like a parody. There's so much like humorous things where people come out these days dressed absurdly, like it's just there were so many different things you can do with this. I'm like, I just can't understand like how this ball was dropped. And like it's like here you guys are now, like you're doing indies and stuff, but like I thought you were two of the more entertaining characters on the show.
Thank you. And Disco, to your point, to our commitment to it, we were very fortunate in the fact that Vince had no idea that we're best friends. Our families go on cruises together.
How did you guys do? Let's do a quick sidebar here. How did you guys become best friends?
Day one at the PC. It was like
I was already there. He signed. I heard that he was into the same kind of stuff that I'm in. We both play video games.
Which is what?
Video games. I like anime, internet stuff. We're kind of like-minded in that way. And then when we
grew up
met
on the same websites, the same TV shows, the same movies.
We both love TNA Impact.
We love TNA. We both grew up on it.
Yo, what up? This is Conan, and I host Keeping It 100, my co-host, Disco Inferno, unfortunately.
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!